Hello, this is Dr. Young, and I'm going to go over your week 5 presentation. It is chapter 5, Learning, Organized for Learning. And so, for this chapter, we're going to talk about the process and how kind of how the process goes and step-by-step lean transformation and how the changes kind of progress. How the whole conversion to lean from traditional traditional types of teams and obviously methods. It's not always easy. There's a lot of learning. There's a big learning curve. There's also a different mindset. It's continuous, and it does take time. It's a process. Some will, change into this different paradigm more quickly than other organizations. It's hard because a lot of times teams are naturally defined by certain things like boundaries. We know who is and who isn't part of the team. It's a defined group. So it's you have to kind of take yourself out of that mindset and many other types of factors like there's leaders and there's followers. And it's kind of hard because in a lean transformation, sometimes people play a leadership role that might not necessarily have a title of leader. But in a traditional environment, you're going to have a very clear authority figure. And then the atmosphere. Teams are made up of people. They have moods. They have energies. Some people are more motivated than others. But it does matter. And it is something that can kind of either help you with your lean transformation or it can hinder you. Now, if you've got a lot of people, okay, you're doing this transformation, let's say the text, the example in the lean turnaround guide, you've got people that are resistant to it. You have people that prefer traditional structure, so you have to think about, these are obviously going to be challenges during this, transformation process. So at a team level, lean change works as follows. So the leaders will frame the problem that needs solving. Managers will encourage and support teams. And examining less wasteful ways of working. And the manager, like we had talked about earlier, is going to be more of a, consulting, giving ideas, listening to ideas, not so much handing down, okay, you do this, you do that, just handing out orders and commands. And basically the top-down leadership changes here to where the leader kind of helps those on the front lines think of ways themselves to cut waste or work more efficiently. Managers draw conclusions from the team innovations and change departmental procedures. So when the team says, I'm just going to make something up. Well, I'll just use my example, but mine's more of a process. When I decided to change, when I was working on my billing project and I needed to change the number of days to pay, I had to think of a way to make some changes. So when I did think, okay, I'm going to change this aspect of the invoice delivery system, I'm going to change this aspect of the contract terms, I had to go to my manager and say, what do you think about this idea? What if I change these two things? And, they would either say, that's been done before, or we can't do that. We need to get upper level permission for that, or no, go ahead and try that and see what happens. So they're more of a consulting, encouraging type of role rather than just a authoritarian type of role. At the team level, this is a continuation of the previous slide. Leaders investigate these changes, highlight the best ones, and ask managers and teams to study best changes and see if it can be improved. So this is a continuous process because there's always changes. Let's say you get everything to the goal that you want to reach, even after several steps in the process, then something else, maybe new technology comes along or something else comes along that might make that process even more efficient. That's why it's always ongoing. And this is an ongoing thing here. I mean, managers pretty much continually do this. What can we do better? What can we improve? Let's study the best change. Let's try these changes. Let's try these changes. Which ones are the best changes? And let's stick with that for a while until we can think of another way to improve this particular process, whatever that process is. Okay. Kaizen and employee satisfaction. So we talked about Kaizen already. But one of the big things about getting this kind of buy-in from employees is to minimize the fear of change. So you have to make the team comfortable with failure. And no one is ever comfortable with failure, but it is a trial and error. You try something, it fails. You try another thing, it fails. You try another thing, it fails. But eventually something's going to make a difference. So you have to make your team comfortable with failing. And you have to be able to handle it too, as the encourager, consultant role that you play if you're the leader. You got to be comfortable with it too. You got to be okay with it. You obviously don't, in a traditional type of structure, you've got a manager who doesn't want anyone to fail and might discipline an employee for failing. But this is different. Employees must change behaviors. Obviously, take responsibility, become comfortable. You know the term, thinking outside of the box. Thinking differently. Trying something you would have never, that no one would have even suspected would be probably, that would work. I mean, you have to kind of be brave in that sense. Overcome setbacks, obviously. If you fail, try again. Don't get discouraged. Just try something else. Move on. And anticipate the next steps. That is, and obviously in that case, that can help minimize failure if you kind of know what's coming next and you can plan for it. You can plan for, kind of a contingency plan there. But these are all behaviors that are more conducive for lean, to lean management and lean projects and processes. Kaizen and respect for people rest on the team leader and the frontline manager. Yeah, and this is right. Manager, team leaders respond to team calls, respect safety procedures, and demonstrate standards work tasks for their area. I think that should just be standard. Sorry about that. So basically, what does that mean? Well, when we're responding to team members' calls, that means that there is one person to turn to when someone runs into trouble. So you want to be that person as a team leader. You want to be the one they run. If there's a problem, they come to you. They communicate with you. The team leaders will, be the gatekeepers of safety procedures, and they will communicate this constantly about safety awareness. Some types of environments for lean will be more important than others as far as safety, probably more manufacturing, but not necessarily only manufacturing. I mean, obviously, even if you're working in an office and you have to make a process more efficient, there's still safety issues you want to make sure that everyone's aware of. And I mean, safety procedures, not issues. Hopefully there's no issues, or you're going to get OSHA in there. But anyway, procedures. And then knowing standardized work for the tasks in their areas. Now, we talked about this earlier. Every area is going to have like a step-by-step standardized work sheet that's going to explain how to do that particular job so that other people can come in and do that job too. So the team leader is going to be able to demonstrate how that supports specific quality points for customers and the next person in the process. It's basically just having a clear method, because when you do lean, you are, like, for example, if you're trying to decrease manufacturing time, or I don't know, line time, like you're making a widget, okay, and there's point A and there's point Z. Probably not that many points, but you get what I'm talking about, just giving you an example. So every point A, B, C, D, whatever that task is on the line for that one piece that's coming through, there needs to be a step-by-step guide, and everyone should be able to do it exactly the same way in the same amount of time. So that's kind of an example of that. Play an essential role in the relationship between how the work environment is organized and everyone's ability to maintain work standards. So, obviously that's the team leader's important there, because they're supposed to be able to understand how and help employees understand and make sure that they are very clear about how the organization of the work is, how long it takes, and everyone should be able to do whatever job on that line, for example, and maintain the same quality and efficiency and speed. And then obviously a team leader will identify additional areas for Kaizen and improvement activities over and over and over again. Excuse me. I'm sorry. So, and stability, we're talking about stability, we're going to talk about creating value streams. So to stabilize the work of teams across all these functions, you want to create value streams, which is basically products that go together and flow through the same teams. And obviously you'd have to establish what team does what work. Flexibility comes when teams are able to deal with more product within their stable flow. And each team should work daily with the following. Sorry, I got that. A stable list of products. So you have a stable list of products, known internal suppliers, known internal customers, and a stable list of equipment. Then each member of the team should be able to do this, to be able to, like they could work on different products on the same type of line. Because remember when we talked back when we spoke about the initial TPS Toyota production system, the motivation behind that was they ran out of money and they had to be able to manufacture more than one product on the same line. So this goes back to that, and this is kind of like, so you kind of are able to work with various products, but you know that you can do that. You know this has been tested, and you've got your standardized work and everything set up, and for different products on the same type of line. That's the manufacturing, I know, example, but you could also use that for processes as well. As far as the, you might have a certain process you use, but you have different products. Like when I worked at GE, I worked in collections. There was a method for collections. I didn't just collect for one product. There were various products that I did collections for. So it's kind of in the same vein there. Managers need to be able to learn from their own problem-solving efforts or Kaizen to improve their own ways of working. So, let's say you've got a manager who's like really good at helping those employees say, okay, you know what? That widget you're making, putting a button on that widget. I don't know, I'm just making this up. But you know what? There's a better way to do that. Why don't we try this way? And you know what? There's another way we could do that. Let's try this other way. But that manager also needs to be able to take that thought process into their own leadership skills. How can they improve helping their employees? How can they support that employee to make them more innovative or them more efficient? So you just kind of reflect that back on yourself as a manager and improve their own ways of working. They have to be teachers and learners at the same time. And again, we talked about this earlier. They have to let go of direct control and seek to be in the control of the dynamic. So they just have to be able to change their leadership skill, the way that they put that into practice. And they really have to have that ability to learn. Okay. Okay, so that is your chapter 5, Organize for Learning. Okay, now we're going to talk about, so we've gotten to burn and we've gotten through let's see, what chapter did we get on? After training on lean. I think that was the last one we did. Alrighty, yeah. Organize for lean. This is where we get into some of the tools. So in the text, they're going to pick an external lean consultant, and they begin to search for external candidates for the Kaizen promotion offices. So moving on, they have to create a value stream with strong team leaders. And there's an example that in a hospital example in your text by product family. That's one way to do it. And read that example. That's a good example about the heart value stream. It's one of the natural value streams that they were talking about. Read about that. And so foundational items for lean, setup reduction. So that's pretty clear. You have a setup for manufacturing, and what you want to do is reduce the time it takes to get set up to make a product in this example. So that's one method. And all of these methods, obviously, you don't have to, they're not mutually exclusive, at all. You can use them, but it is the most important for a machine-based company, obviously. Now, and even non-manufacturing companies have, it can be important for that, but you just think of that more often. And I mean, a hospital has to change over the beds between patients. In that case, you would want to get the setup time down, and that would help the situation, obviously. That would be a lean practice. You know, maybe in the book it says can take 45 minutes, but the author was talking about getting it down to 10 minutes at one point, somewhere where he did a lean transformation. So that's obviously important. 5S, the 5 S's, 5S discipline. Sort out, so it's sort, set, shine, standardize, and sustain. Sort out and throw out unnecessary items. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Set, everything should be placed in order, easy to use, and it should take very little time to find what you need. I need someone to come into my house and do that. Shine, keep work areas clean, which obviously helps. Keeping things clean is important. If you have clutter everywhere, that's going to obviously add time to whatever you're doing. Standardize is apply cleanliness principles across the board. Maintain disposal and arrangement in all areas. Sustain, discipline, and basically the discipline to maintain and improve your workplace. So that's another discipline, a visual workplace. And then there's visual controls, which shows targets and where everyone stands in achieving them. Okay, so this that was all for the. That's just some of the really good examples of how some of the practices of Lean, basically cutting time, cutting waste, removing barriers that might add time. All these are important. So for your midterm exam, you have a mix of multiple choice, true, false, and essay questions. You have 90 minutes to complete the exam, and each essay question should be answered with a minimum of a paragraph, which is 5 complete sentences. And your test is on chapters 1 through 5 in your Lean strategy text and 1 through 4 in your Lean turnaround text. So if you have any questions or concerns, let me know, and I'll be happy to assist you. You can text or call me. Just text me anytime. If you need a phone call, just text me and let me know you want to schedule a call. Thanks for listening, and let's have a great week.